Hello, and welcome to Dyslexia Devoted, the podcast dedicated to building awareness, understanding, and strategies to help those with dyslexia. I'm your host, Lisa Parnello, dyslexia therapist and founder of Parnello Education Services. Join me as we dive into today's episode of Dyslexia Devoted. Hello, and welcome to episode 110 of Dyslexia Devoted. I just finished summer program at Parnello Education, so I decided it is a great day to share the success stories because everybody needs some success stories and some encouragement to kick off a brand new school year. And yes, I know some of you guys have been in school for an entire month now because I know that's the way it was when I used to teach in Arizona. But around here, school either started last week or this week right now. So we are going to kick things off with a happy attitude. So for episode 110, it is Summer Success Stories. Now, before we get started, I also wanted to make sure you guys have all the tools you guys need to be successful. So I have a free download for you guys. If you go to parnelloeducation.com/dyslexia tips, I will also link it here. I will also link it right where you are listening to this episode. And there are 15 different ways that you can use some easy to implement strategies to help kids with dyslexia. So be sure to check out those dyslexia tips. All right. So in the summer, I work with different kids than the school year. Sometimes they are the same kids and we change the duration, and sometimes they're brand new kids because I only have so many hours in a day. And there are so many clients that want to work with me that I just need to eat and sleep sometimes. So I take on different kids for the summer, so I love celebrating their successes when we have them. So these success stories are in absolutely no particular order whatsoever. The first one is a little boy who came to me this summer mostly because he needed help doing math homework. His school gave him a ton of math homework, and it was one of those things where, sometimes working with mom and dad is not the same as working with a teacher. And his own words were, "If I have to do this at home, I will be crying at the kitchen table." And this little kiddo actually asked for additional time with me this summer so that he could get all of his work done. And we did it in the nick of time with some extra time to spare yesterday with some board games because I have some fun math board games. And to me, this success story really points out the importance of connection. It is all about making sure that there is a safe space where kids feel that they can mess up. They can say, "I don't know how to do this. Can you show me how to do this problem?" And that is so important. It is not always what you know, but it's also how you approach it. When you're working with kids, sometimes it just needs a different approach. And it's not to say that mom and dad were doing anything bad with doing it at home with the kiddos. It's just a social dynamic thing. I've worked with the kids of so many teachers just because there's something different when it comes from the teacher compared to when it comes from mom and dad. There's a lot less battles, there's a lot less fighting, and there's a lot more focus. And so I have several kids who come to me that still do their homework with me, even though mostly what I specialize in is remediation, because there's just such a different dynamic when it doesn't come from mom and dad some days. Success story number 2 comes from my favorite little Spitfire that I took on this summer. And if mom's listening to this, I'm sure she will get a good laugh out of it. Within 30 seconds of meeting this child, when she hadn't even said hello to me yet, she shot me with a poppet. I don't know if you know what a poppet is. In my office, I have these 2 little toys. One is an alien that shoots his eyeball, and one is a dog that shoots a tennis ball, and you squeeze their belly and it shoots a ball. And within 30 seconds of me meeting her, she somehow found it in my office already and shot me with it before she even said hello. And that's where we started. So any of you teachers listening knows what kind of personality this kid has. And inside this little girl was so much anger and frustration, because she is so smart. But boy, does she have dyslexia. When a kiddo is so smart that they're smart enough to know something's wrong, that's actually when you get the biggest emotions. Sometimes when kids aren't quite as clever, they don't know that they're not like everyone else. But when you have a really clever kid, they know that they should be able to do certain things and they can't do it. And that causes a lot of stress and frustration. They act out sometimes. That's just the way it goes. So this summer has been partly about teaching her to read, but partly how to teach her it's okay when you can't, and that we're going to get you there, and that you can know how to read, and you don't always have to guess, and there is somebody that knows how to help you. And now this little girl bounces into my office very happily, or logs into a Zoom room and doesn't have any problems being on Zoom tutoring, because she knows that she's in a good spot, and that she feels better when she's done with our lessons. So many kids get labeled as having bad behavior, when sometimes that bad behavior is just a way of expressing frustration when they are not getting the support that they need. So sometimes remediation comes in two forms. It comes in academic remediation and showing them, here's how you approach these academics that have been hard for you and you didn't have any strategies for, and emotional support. Teaching them emotional regulation strategies. A lot of times kids who are acting out like this don't feel like they have any other way to act. They don't know what else to do. So another thing that you can do is work on, okay, when you feel this way, here's what you can do. And letting them know that they can get support if they ask for it the right way. Because otherwise someone's just going to be mad at them instead of giving them the thing that solves their problem. All right, success story number 3. There is a little boy going into middle school who still could not write all of his lowercase letters. He was having a lot of trouble with how to sound out words, and he had still never learned how to write properly with lowercase letters. And he's going into a new school with higher expectations, and this kiddo, going into middle school, was willing to learn how to rewrite the alphabet. And if you've ever met a 5th grade boy, you should know what an accomplishment this is. So many of them are like, whatever, I don't care, it's fine. And they have 10 years of habits of writing it a certain way. So, to be able to get a 5th grade boy going into middle school willing to learn the alphabet all over again, I would call that a major success. And I had no battles at all, either. He was actually very happy to finally get the help that he needs. So, that was a fun little itsy-bitsy success. Which maybe isn't so itsy-bitsy. It's actually pretty important to be able to write the alphabet by middle school. And my final success story is one that makes me so proud and so excited, and I will fully admit I had a lot of anxiety about before the summer started. There's one little girl who I've worked with for many, many years who is also about to go into middle school, and she's changing schools and had a very nurturing, supportive elementary school and is now going into a big public middle school. And I had some nerves because this poor little thing has one of the most severe cases of dyslexia that I've seen in a long time. I only have a couple other kids who are at her level for how intense her dyslexia is. Well, this summer, Mom and I consciously made the decision to increase her time a lot with me this summer, and boy, did it pay off. I handed her a grade level chapter book at the beginning of summer. It took us 10 minutes to read 2 paragraphs. And by the end of summer, she was reading the book on her own, very fluently, and the only things that sounded a little disfluent were ones because it was like from the perspective of someone in the South, and we're in California, and so the whole Southern twang accent and conversation thing kind of throws her for a loop sometimes for good reason. And it made me so proud. She even sent me a video call of her giving me a summary of the story because she wanted to take the book home with her because she was almost done. She only had 1 or 2 more chapters to go before she finished the end of the book. So she asked to borrow my book. And I said, great, you just have to tell me how it ends because I haven't heard the end of the story yet. And she sent me a video message with her summary of the end of the story, which is so powerful because this little girl has never read a grade level chapter book ever. And to finally see that she can do that just before she heads into middle school where everything gets so much harder and kids are expected to be so much more independent, everything took this little girl 10 times longer than it should have because that's how severe her dyslexia was. And she pulled it off. She put in all the hard work all summer long, bouncing into my room every day that she was coming to me with a great attitude. You know, you would think kids would hate having to do summer school, so to speak, and she loved every minute of it because she finally feels success. And I was so proud of her. We actually did this over the course of the last year. We set a goal for her, and we had certain milestones. So at the end of the school year, I'd like us to be here. At the end of summer, I would like us to be here. And we hit all of those milestones and then even went beyond them. And I can finally feel like this little girl is actually ready to start middle school. Because in May, I wasn't feeling like that. I was a little nervous for her. And we did it because we set a goal and we focused on it and we had a good attitude about it. You know, some days were better than others, but it all finally started to click. We've been working together for years, and this summer, it finally clicked. And sometimes we need to hear that. It's not always a quick success. It is not always within 6 months, magically, your kid is wonderful. It is sometimes a years-long battle. until it finally clicks. But you can get there, and that's where I would like to end for today, knowing that sometimes it's not always a quick fix, but you can get there. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed hearing a few success stories because I know that always makes me feel better to start a school year with a good attitude, and we always need to hear those. If you would like some more dyslexia tips, go to parnelloeducation.com/dyslexia tips for a quick and easy download of some different strategies that you can use. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If you want to learn even more about dyslexia, check out parnelloeducation.com/courses. See you next time.